are back. So, Tim, I think the big question is, do we even discuss the latest Hollywood sexual assault allegations against somebody, or will it be outdated 48 hours from now?
There will be 6 more sexual assaults in by then.
This is crazy, right?
It really is, and of course we're talking about Louis
yeah,
CK.
like literally yesterday, I was interviewed for local television here to talk about Kevin Spacey being replaced in Ridley Scott's All the Money in the World by Christopher Plummer, and I go in this morning to Film Week thinking that I'm going to be talking about the same thing, and the Louis C.K. stuff broke, and it's like you can't even go through a 24-hour news cycle without something new happening. It's crazy.
One of the things that came up in the little thing that I was doing is where this all began, and I heard you talking about it on the radio today. You started with Fede Arbuckle, and
Chaplin,
bounced over the Charlie Chaplin. Both of not exactly the same. Any of these things. These are all complicated. Things that have their own. Some of them were crimes. Some of them weren't crimes, but just behavior. Some of them had trials associated. Some of them didn't. Et cetera, et cetera. We move up. We get to Roman Polanski. I skipped a whole bunch of stuff in there, but that's okay. Some people would want to include Woody Allen on that list. I'm going to include Bill Cosby on that list. And then we roll on into the present day, and I think I was telling you a lot of names not on this list that surprised me. I don't want to besmirch them by mentioning them now, but they're not on the list. And I don't know. Look, I'll put it this way. There are a lot of men who were known to be ladies' men all through the 60s, 70s, into the 80s, some of them. All in the tabloids, all this kind of stuff. None of those men on any of these lists that we're talking about, which strikes me as extremely interesting. The ones we all, he's doing, none of them are on the list of having attacked anyone.
No.
I don't know what this means.
I don't either, but it's far from over, and it's just going to keep on being a part of our news cycle. And I keep saying to people, focus on the changes. Yeah, you want justice served, but focus on the changes going forward. That's what'll be the real litmus test, is if Hollywood institutes institutional change that says, here's what we're going to do to make sure that this doesn't ever happen again. We're going to, there are going to be these penalties and these guarantees, and
we hear Kathleen Kennedy talking about
and she's got a very good idea for kind of a commission that will sort of oversee these things, and as long as that commission doesn't become a Gestapo, I think we're okay. If people start paying set visits and interfering with the making of movies and interviewing people, and then you could get into a little bit of a kind of a micromanaged police state.
I got a problem with it. I got a problem with that. It needs to work the other way around. It shouldn't be about a group of people designated as morality police of some sort.
Then we become Iran.
Exactly. It should be about a place where people can go.
Human resources.
Where things will come to what they say.
And my wife, who deals with a lot of this stuff and has dealt with a lot of it, used to be a consultant for a completion guarantor for a bond company. That was her job. Bond companies have the responsibility of making sure that the ship is run tight ship and trains run on time. And
money
all that
don't
stuff.
Get lost. That's
it. Yeah. And they can take a movie over
at the box office.
And they can take a movie over if things go south. And she said, when you have kids on set, you got to have a welfare officer. And that's the law, to make sure that the kids are taken care of. And if you have to have a welfare officer for the adults, you have to babysit the adults, and then so be it. But there's no reason why that structure already exists for minors. No reason why it shouldn't be adaptable to adults.
Yeah,
and it's true.
It's a shame.
It's a crying shame,
but apparently necessary. Look, the Louis C.K. thing, bit of a punch there. I had heard this, that, and the other. Ironically, Gawker ran a unnamed piece. But everybody knew who they were talking about, back 2012, 2011, 12, 13, something like that. So again, open secret. We're in open secret territory again. So I think that's really what we're going to have to cut it out with these goddamn open secrets. Just cut it out. And perhaps even literally say to each other occasionally, hey, man, Did you hear about?
Yeah,
I did hear about that.
And you know what has constrained that has obviously been a lot of things. Mostly fear of litigation, fear of damaging your career, fear of damaging relationships, and very legitimately, I think, fear of false accusations. Nobody wants to be the person that spread a rumor that destroyed somebody's career wrongfully just because somebody else was spiteful.
Yeah.
And that happens too, you know. So yeah. I mean, all these factors have to sort of be considered, but I think it is a net unbelievable off the chart positive that we're talking about it, and that everybody kind of feels empowered to move forward. So it's a new world. You know, I keep thinking too, the opportunity cost of the talent that did not move forward. When you think about it, I mean, forget for now about the people who actually did exploit all these avenues and these power structures to further their careers. But how many really good people did we lose? How many really good careers did we not get? Because people just refuse to play the game. That makes me sad.
Stepped out of the business because, you know what, I just don't want to be
it's
harassed
not worth it.
every day. It's just, again, men and women, you know, who didn't want to play the game.
Yeah, it hurts us all. Well, anyway, we're going to talk about fun things. We've got a lot of movies. We've got television. We've got movies. We got classics, some amazing Criterions. We have a Vox box. Remember, you can always send us your Vox boxes at gods@digigods.com, gods@digigods.com. That will continue to be our go-to main email until everything completely switches over to CineGods. Still making some tweaks on the CineGods site. Please visit it, cinegods.com. It will continue to change. It has been soft launched. We haven't made a full announced hard launch lit yet. We got a few changes and a few other little bits and pieces that have to get integrated, a newsletter and some other things, but we are on our way. So cinegods.com, visit the page. Also check out the CineGods page on Facebook. Please join and follow, and that'll give you access to all the good stuff in your feed. And email us at gods@digigods.com with either an email or a Vox box. We still do Vox boxes. Looking for them. And that said, it's starting to be award season for us.
Yeah.
Which means that next week will be our the week of Thanksgiving. It's an early Thanksgiving and Black Friday this year. That's going to be the week of our big holiday show. So we're going to do our holiday show and gift guide on that week. And then we are not going to be back until closer to mid-December. We're going to go on hiatus for a moment because the LA Film Critics vote on December 3rd, which means you and I are not going to have time for anything but
nothing but the movies of the moment.
Yeah, it's
for a while.
It's the screener bomb that hit yesterday was pretty intense, wasn't it? The last couple of days.
Yeah,
it's like 20 movies in 2 days.
You know, it's an odd thing. We talked about this a little bit too.
Yeah.
You know, so here we work our way through the year, and these movies that pop up. And Detroit was one of them. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, I thought we'd be talking about that around about now. Not so much.
Isn't that amazing how things things just drop on and off? Like I even feel like I mean, it's not going to, but I even feel like Dunkirk has dropped a few notches.
That cinematography nod is the only one that I can think of. Yeah. You know, that new kid, that little pop singer kid, was pretty good in the movie, but his role isn't big enough.
Yeah.
Nobody in that movie has a role that's big enough.
No.
To to give them the gravitas to get supporting this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
Sort of, and the movie doesn't really have any leads. Not really.
No.
To my mind.
No, it doesn't.
So that's all gone. And so what do you got? You got a good looking movie with a nice score.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what they were planning on. No. I think they were planning on walking down that aisle a few times. You got that Mark Felt movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know, again, not a whole lot of people talk. Liam Neeson's pretty good in that movie, but it's such a tight performance, and the movie is so slow, and it's no All the President's Men. But I think they thought we were going to be talking about them around about now. We're going to be talking about Wind River here today.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because we have to remember, you know, last year when all the conversation early on in the year, all the conversation was about Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
And it won Sundance, right? It got the biggest ever deal ever at Sundance. It took all the top awards. It was a big deal, and that was supposed to be the odds-on Oscar favorite. You even may remember I said that would get director, producer, actor, and screenplay nominations, and and then that was kind of on the front end of the sexual assault thing. and suddenly Moonlight came out of nowhere.
Yeah, which was an easy replace.
It was.
Because, another black director, another sort of indie-ish sort of film with a great story behind it. It was very easy to just let Moonlight slide.
And Moonlight really did. I mean, that's A24's first Best Picture winner, and A24 has really kind of turned it on. That's an amazing company. They've spent a number of years really heavily investing in a very particular kind of profile and really branding themselves. And I can't fault them, man. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Well, let's carry on. Should we hit some music first?
I guess that we shall. Let me see. I got a couple over here that I want to talk about. Sting, live at the Olympia in Paris. First of all, it's Sting. Who's still playing that Fender Jazzman bass, by the way, which blows me away.
He's just, you know what? He doesn't feel like he has anything left to prove anymore.
No, Well, the thing about Sting, love Sting, love the Police, all that kind of stuff, and a lot of those songs from the Police are on this record, by the way. Synchronicity 2 and all that kind of stuff are here, as well as some songs from all like his early solo stuff from the early '80s. Make it onto this into this concert, as well as some newer things. And that's what I love about it. In listening to this and watching this great performance, what really comes home is what a great songwriter Sting is.
Right.
He's just a wonderful songwriter.
Yeah.
I'm watching this show, this concert, and listening to these things. I'm thinking to myself, almost anybody who's talented could perform these songs. And you'd have hit songs because they're just these beautifully written songs, so deeply heartfelt and moving. And then, of course, he's Sting. He's a performer. He has that voice and he plays that bass, and it's fantastic. This is very neat. A lot of special guests here, including Joe Sumner and the Bandoleros and others. It's a neat Blu-ray. Not a whole lot of special stuff on it, but you put it in, you turn it on, you watch the concert, you have a good time. Sting at the Olympia in Paris. Is that, and I have beside Bowie, the Mick Ronson story, 2-disc Blu-ray DVD. Anyway, did we lose Bowie this year, or was that last year?
That was
late last year.
Yeah, it was like maybe early last year.
Was it early last year?
I think it was early last year.
Wow, man, they're going by so fast.
I know.
Now. Anyway, so this is a really, really great thing. All of the sort of early 1970s guitar players come out and they just laud David Bowie. They just talk about how profound an influence Bowie was on them.
Fantastic.
Which is sort of a fantastic thing. I'm a big Bowie fan, so this is easy breezy for me. I'm taking a look at this to see if there's anything else on here. There's a voiceover by David Bowie, which is fantastic. So, we get to hear David Bowie's voice one more time, featuring access to archives never seen before, bonus interviews footage with Angie Bowie, Rick Wakeman, Glenn Matlock, Cherry Vanilla, and Ian Hunter, and a whole bunch of other
Rick Wakeman, one of the great all-time keyboardists that I went to high school with some keyboardists who that was their god at the time. So I heard all about Rick Wakeman for a long time.
Let's see if I got one more here. I'm going to talk about Hans Zimmer live in Prague. Includes the music from Gladiator and the Dark Knight trilogy and the Lion King and Inception and Interstellar and the Da Vinci Code and Pirates of the Caribbean. Man, you forget how Hans Zimmer has been out there really cranking it out for a very, very long time. This is the live performances of some of the music from some of the major motion pictures that he has composed for, including the main theme from Rain Man. Which is
still really great and memorable,
so fantastic stuff. Here, so check this out again. If you love the music of Hans Zimmer live in Prague, performed live is actually pretty extraordinary too.
And then we have an interesting box set. This is primarily CDs. At least it's this. It's shaped like a CD set. So you'd miss the chance. You'd miss that it's actually 2 DVDs and 3 CDs. But it's the same thing. It's the Richard Thompson Band, which I had never heard of before.
Don't know that band.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not my thing, but it's okay. I wouldn't recommend people run out and discover Richard Thompson like your life's been empty. But if you are a fan of the Richard Thompson Band, you'll get a kick out of this. This is live at Rock Palast, part of the Rock Palast series, and the entire concert is here on 5 discs, 2 DVDs and 3 CDs. and it's perfectly. It's all laid out perfect in exactly the same order and the same, basically the same tracks. So you can pop the DVDs in and watch it live on your television, or you can take the CDs and burn them and listen to them, whatever it is. And so it gives you the concert in a complete context. So that's very nice.
Neat.
And let me kick through some anime here real quickly. I'm going to do the anime in chunks today because we got a lot of it. There's a lot of anime that's kind of backed up. Got some 2-volume stuff here. Volumes 1 and 2 of Revolutionary Girl Utena, the Black Rose Saga, and the Student Council Saga. The Revolutionary Girl thing, I think is kind of going to get a second wind here with all of our girl power in the news at the moment, and I think that's that's appropriate for anime. Never been one of my favorite animes, but it's gotten a certain style and a certain look. We also have a couple of Gundams. We've got Mobile Suit Gundam collection, Mobile Suit Gundam Wing W. Collection 1 and Collection 2. The Mobile Suit Gundam thing, I mean, I love the whole concept of Gundam. I love the whole world of Gundam. But it is a massive world, and it is a massive mythology, and there's a lot of backstory to it, and it's very easy to get lost in it. It's just become so sprawling and so all-encompassing. I can't exactly recommend this as from a story standpoint and say, oh, it's a great story, because you need to read like 800 pages and watch probably 5,000 hours of other Gundam to even know where you are in this world. It's really just, it's so all-encompassing. But that said, it's some of the best artwork you'll ever see in anime, and it's really, really cool. So that's Mobile Suit Gundam Wing W Collections 1 and 2. Got a thing here I'd never heard of before, which is Danganronpa 3, the end of Hope's Peak High School, and the 2 volumes are Future Arc and Despair Arc. These are Blu-ray and DVD combo sets. That's Danganronpa, Danganronpa. I feel like I didn't have time to do a whole lot of investigation into this, so I listened to some of the episode commentaries, and it clearly it is definitely its own very, very complicated mythology. Like so many of these things, it's high school oriented. A lot of Japanese anime is deals with high school politics, except here it takes a dive into the supernatural, and it gets pretty intense. So if you want something that's a little bit sort of like high school D&D, except crossed with espionage and I don't know, actual D&D, Danganronpa is not a bad way to go. Got a couple of Naruto titles as well. Naruto Shippuden the movie, which is 4 movies total. The original movie, Bonds, The Will of Fire, and The Lost Tower. This is also known as the Rasengan Collection. All of these have been released before, and this comes with just a few trailers, opening and ending songs, and art galleries and trailers, things like that. And then what's really cool is Boruto, Naruto the movie, which is also a Blu-ray and DVD combo pack. And this is kind of extending the story of Naruto Shippuden. This is the next generation of it, and I won't get you into all the stuff because it is, it's a world unto itself, like all the rest of this stuff. But it takes it a nice extra step, and I'm not really intensely aware of the whole the Naruto world and all of its intricate glory, but that was, I was able to kind of follow this a little bit, and it was sufficiently enjoyable. So there it is. All right, Tim, let's
we're gonna do some new movies.
Let's do some new movies.
I'm gonna start with Ingrid Goes West.
Okay.
I have this ridiculous crush on Aubrey Plaza. I really should get over myself. I have shoes older than her. Nevertheless, I have this crush on her. She's fantastic. She's just, of course, she's in the Legion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her work in that series is just extraordinary. She played. Well, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but she's fantastic in the series when you see it. And this is a neat little movie that she did with Elizabeth Ocean and O'Shea Jackson. O'Shea, of course, is Ice Cube's boy,
right,
who was in Straight Outta Compton. He's very good in this movie. So is she. It's just a dark comedy. It's hysterically funny to me. It's about this young woman with a bit of a past, and she goes on this thing. It's absolutely dazzling. It's really funny. Plus, she's blonde in it for a while, which is just another notch on my crush thing for her. Deleted scenes and director's commentary are what we have on this Blu-ray DVD.
I'm going to guess that this Ingrid Goes West has nothing to do with the Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin Ingrid Goes West. No. Nothing. Yeah.
No. Okay. No, you couldn't. The rating on this is no.
The Antonio Banderas stars in Gun Shy, which has the greatest tagline ever: "Rock out with your Glock out." When this poster first broke, I looked at this picture, the one I'm talking about here, where he's walking along with the long hair and the gun and the guitar case and the
very middle '90s kind
explosion behind him, and I thought this had better be some kind of a comical riff on El Mariachi, because otherwise this can't be serious. This just looks too ridiculous. And fortunately, it is a complete and total comedy, which thank goodness somebody actually recognized that this had to be a comedy. Directed by Simon West, who we may remember was an A-list director for a minute when he did
Con Air and all that stuff, yeah.
Con Air was the big breakthrough, his Bruckheimer Simpson thing. And then he also went on to do video game, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
Oh, the Tomb Raider movie. Yeah,
he did the first Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie. So, so Simon West, he's no slouch. He's a little bit of an action film hack, but he's no slouch. He can put a movie together. And so here's the idea of the story. So Antonio Banderas is a fading, long lost, fattened up 80s hairband rock star who wants you to believe he's English. And that's the running joke in the movie is I don't speak Spanish. I am English. I don't speak Spanish. I am English. Over and over they say that. And I think by like the 19th time you kind of chuckle because by then you're just worn down. Yeah. You're like, okay, it's not funny, but I'm going to laugh because you keep doing it. Anyway, so his wife is Olga Kurylenko, who is, a hot model as she is in real life. And for some reason that doesn't really make sense because he's so disconnected from his previous life and wants his career back and he's still trying to get back in the game. They go down to Chile. Here's the big funny thing. He goes down to Chile and they don't understand why the hotel is empty because they go down for a summer vacation and he finds out it's winter. Oh, it's so funny. That's hysterical. She gets kidnapped by gorillas and he wants to pay the ransom, but then there's a renegade CIA agent who thinks that that's giving money to terrorists and decides to target him instead of targeting the terrorists to prevent him from giving the ransom to the terrorists. Anyway, it gets very wacky and farcical and silly. And the thing that I said on Film Week is this is one of those movies where somebody will be holding a grenade and the pin has been pulled and they look at the grenade and go, uh-oh, and then it goes off. That's this kind of movie.
Just north of a cartoon with humans.
Just north of a cartoon. It's ridiculous. It's really stupid. But for some dumb reason, it's kind of funny. And I wouldn't recommend anyone own this, but, it's just stupid enough to be enjoyable if you got some time to kill. And that's Gun Shy. Rock out with your Glock out.
Yeah, I do love that tagline, though.
It is good.
That's the kind of thing I would have wrote back in the day, actually. Wind River is another movie that we're not talking about so much now. As we go into award seasons, but I'm pretty sure these filmmakers thought we would be. Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen's film. Taylor Sheridan directing. Taylor Sheridan, of course, from Hell and High Water.
Last year.
Big breakout film. Taylor, of course, is an actor. If you look up Taylor and look up his IMDb, you've been watching Taylor and still kid. He still acts. He's Taylor hasn't given up his day job. Acting, so he's out there. Doing his thing. This is a very powerful movie. It was a bit dark, and I don't know. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, this is a movie about horrible things that happen to young women, and in this particular instance, it's young Native American women. Jeremy Renner is the sort of tracker hunter guy who mostly goes out shooting wolves and things like that to keep them from eating the oil rig workers who are working on these oil rigs out in the middle of the hinterlands, right? A body is found. A young, unprepared FBI agent played by Elizabeth Olsen comes in to sort of figure out what the hell went down. She's literally unprepared. She arrives on the scene. It's like 25 degrees below zero in the middle of a blizzard, and she's wearing like one of those blue FBI windbreakers.
Yeah.
Without a hat and no gloves. So the sort of unpreparedness of her is reflected in that moment. And she and he have to figure out, what happened to the young Indian girl. Now, the young Native American girl. What's going on in this movie is actually very, is very sort of heartfelt and meant to be very supportive of the Native American community. Right? That's what Taylor does. I like that about him a lot. But in order to do that, he has to do some really horrible things to young Native American women. In order to create the
empathy.
Yeah. And I got to tell you that I'm having a harder and harder time getting through what you have to do in order to tell me the story that I know you have this good intention.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a burn for me. Anyway, that's one of the reasons that I think we're not talking about this movie as much as we might have been. It's actually a very good movie. Good performances from Elizabeth.
Puts you through some difficult paces.
And well-made film. It's a very, very strong movie from Taylor Sheridan. Wind River, here we've got deleted scenes and some behind-the-scenes stuff, but not a whole lot more. Blu-ray and digital HD.
So Disney has also released Cars 3 in 4K Ultra HD. And look, 4K, man, you take that Pixar animation that has never been it's never seen a camera, it's never seen a lens, it's never seen a strip of celluloid. It's just pure resolution, and you pump that thing onto a 4K Ultra HD disc with HDR, and this thing is amazing. It looks gorgeous. It is spectacular. The audio is not to be believed. It is phenomenal. And you get the digital copy version of this that you can watch on iTunes and everything else. It's now part of the Movies Anywhere thing, which we're going to talk about more in the future. Everybody's Movies Anywhere now. Remember, there's no more Ultraviolet. Disney and Ultraviolet, we're all merged. We're all Movies Anywhere now. So it's gorgeous, and it's absolutely spectacular, and the movie's no good.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that's really frustrating. We go to Disneyland a lot because I have a 4-year-old. So we have one more year to use these annual passes and to really just pump her full of Disneyland before, school takes over and that becomes history.
Yeah.
But Cars Land in California Adventure is pretty amazing. It's designed to be just like the street and all the businesses, and you feel like you walked right into Cars. And there's a charm to it because the whole point was, here is Lightning McQueen, fish out of water, big city, fast car, who wanders into this sweet little forgotten town. And it's that thing that, we see in grown-up movies all the time. Somebody walks into a small town. A lot of faith-based cinema does this, right? You're the hard-playing, fast-playing ball player, or you're some kind of rock star, and you wind up in a small town, and you rediscover your roots. That's what Cars was all about. Cars 2, and even more so Cars 3, is everything but that. And it's just, it misses its charm, and just bringing them back as like his posse to sort of help him be faster and bigger and better. It's like Babe, Pig in the City, the sequel,
Well, the effect is the other way around.
It just doesn't
work. He is acidifying them, as opposed to them getting. So it's like,
it's just not working. It's just too racing-y. Anyway, loaded with extras. Lou is the short that accompanies this, which is terrific, which is really, really sweet. And then a bunch of featurettes, and it's fun stuff, but it's just not the movie that it needs to be.
What's the deal with the two different Atomic Blondes that I'm looking at?
Oh, they sent us both 4K and Blu-ray.
Okay.
Yeah, just everything on here is essentially the same. All except for basically the audio, but the extras are all the same. There's deleted scenes and some featurettes and
how do you say his last
stuff
name?
On Berlin. Huh?
How do you say his last name? The director, David.
Oh, the director of this film is David Leitch.
Is it Leitch? I've been saying it wrong. I've been saying Lech.
I think it's Leitch.
Leitch? Okay, which is better because I hate it saying, particularly nowadays, Leitch.
Yeah, I think it's Leitch. Anyway.
So Leitch, okay, who I like a lot as a director. He's a stunt coordinator.
Basically.
Yeah, you've been watching him for 20 years. You just didn't know it. A lot of times when you're looking at Brad Pitt, you were looking at David.
And this is the only kind of movie he should be allowed to direct.
Yeah, just keep it moving, and he, that's what he does, and he does it well. Who was it? Hal Needham? Hal Needham was a stunt guy.
Hal Needham was a stunt guy
back in the way, and Clint, figured out, hey, if it's got some shit blowing up in it, let Hal direct it.
Yeah,
Burt Reynolds.
Atomic Blonde is, well, okay. So, how did you feel about Atomic Blonde?
I thought that the action. I like this. I like the fact that it was set in the '80s because it gave us a great soundtrack. So it saved itself with that, and plus it saved itself by getting rid of a lot of stuff that we'd have to deal with now.
And the Cold War
setting, and that Cold War kind of worked. But I don't know, whatever. Fair to middling.
I mean, Charlize Theron plays, a just complete kick-ass female spy who, goes toe-to-toe to. I won't. It's hard to not give away the plot. So she's got to go.
Doesn't actually make any sense. So
it
doesn't make any different.
She's got to. She's on a mission into the east, and James McAvoy is her contact, and there's a whole thing that she's got to do. And you're flashing back from a moment
that suggests the problem of the movie is that
suggests
we're
something went
backwards.
wrong.
Yeah. We're in this flashback with her,
and really none of it makes sense. None of it hangs together. It's all and it's a peeve of mine that movies that are totally illogical can be predictable because we've seen so many other illogical movies just like them that we know the tricks that illogical movies do. And this is one of them. It makes no sense. But the action is intense. Mm-hmm. He pulls it out.
Beautiful fight scene.
He pulls out the stops. That continuous camera work in the staircase where she's just...
Almost old boy. Not quite old boy, but almost old boy.
It's right. It's like 70% old boy.
And she's not invincible, and she can get hurt. I like that about the way she plays it.
Yeah.
Some of these guys can beat her.
Yeah.
So she cheats, and I like that too.
I do too.
So that's bright.
We've also got Limehouse Golem. Limehouse Golem is a movie that should be a lot better than it actually is. I'm so upset that I didn't like this more because I love Bill Nye and I love Olivia Cooke. I love Olivia Cooke. I think they're both great. This is in that kind of Sherlock Holmesy, Jack the Ripper-y gothic period of London, and there's a serial killer on the loose, and Olivia Cooke plays this young actress, and she is... I'm not going to tell you how she's involved in all of this, but she's sort of in the mix with the victims of this serial killer. And then you've also got Bill Nye, who is the very Sherlock Holmesy inspector, who has fallen a little bit from grace because he made some mistakes, and he's the one who is now charged with trying to solve this case as a bit of a trap because they think he's going to screw himself up. So anyway, there's all of this stuff sounds really interesting, except for the fact that it just doesn't hang together. Really high production value, but then the plot twists start coming, and none of it makes any sense. And it sort of aspires a little bit to M, I think, as well. But I just wish it were better. Produced by Stephen Woolley, who of course did many fine movies like the Crying Game, stuff with Neil Jordan. Stephen Woolley knows how to make a movie really, really sing, but it just doesn't hang together. The script isn't there. The Limehouse Golem, great actors. I wish the movie were better.
It happens sometimes. Patty Cakes was a neat little indie that came out earlier this year that I thought we'd be talking about a little bit more.
That also did well at Sundance.
Sundance has been murdering movies for about 10 years now. You know that, right?
Yes, it has. It's been a curse.
I know all kinds of people. I'm going to put a movie in Sundance. I'm like, you want it to fail, do you?
No.
But Blue Valentine. I mean, we can go back for a ways.
Oh yeah, Blue
not
Valentine.
Not that the movies weren't okay, but something about them getting whatever you get when you come out of Sundance. Audiences didn't want to go see them. Anyway, in any case, Patty Cakes is one of those. Sundance, South by Southwest, use that con and all that kind of stuff too. Neat movie, I thought. It's about this young Jersey girl. Her name is Patricia Dombrowski, and she's a rapper, a rap artist, and she goes by the name Killer P, which I think is just awesome. And in what I like about this movie, aside from the sort of iconoclastic nature of it, even the way it's sort of put together, the characters are in it, is that she's really good. It isn't one of those things where you have a young artist who's delusional about themselves, and we're waiting for the world to wake them up and give them a smack and say that you're no good at this. No, she's good, and she ought to make it. What she looks like isn't exactly right. The fact that she's a white girl from Jersey isn't exactly right, but But I don't know what the movie sort of like just lets her plow through all of that. So anyway, it's just a great underdog story that I really liked a lot. This is the Blu-ray DVD, and we have got the director's commentary and the music video and the lyric video and a making the music video and a few little things like that. Yeah,
I think this may make a resurrection for award season.
Really if people talk about it a little bit and remember it, it's kind of a neat movie.
The Journey is with Timothy Spall and Cole Meany. Is actually quite an interesting film. This is
I had some issues with it.
It's not a great movie, but I like it because it dramatizes a piece of history that I was not sufficiently familiar with. Is the thing, and this deals with the negotiation over the Northern Ireland issue, and when it brings it down to sort of a geopolitical level, and you get some of the you get this person on person personal interplay, very kind of Frost Nixon-y. I kind of got into that. I don't know how close it is to the actual story.
That was the thing that bugged me a little bit because
they took liberties,
all kinds of crazy liberties. They're sort of insanely obvious as you're watching the film. But the notion of bringing this conflict down to the two central representatives on both sides, that Reverend and Cole Meany. These are the two guys, and we're gonna take this frankly hundreds of years worth of animosity and history, and we're gonna put it in a van, and we're gonna let these two guys see if they can work it out. I like the notion. I would almost have liked it better if it hadn't been about the actual thing. But whatever, it's good. And good performances, too. Timothy was still a little thick when he was doing that. We saw him the other day. He's looking good.
Nick Hamm directed, and John Hurt shows up in here, too, which is wonderful, along with a grown-up Freddie Highmore, which kind of freaks me out a little bit.
The late John Hurt.
Oh, so miss John Hurt terribly. And then also real quickly, a movie called Indiscretion, directed by John Stuart Muller. I knew nothing about this, but it caught my attention only because Mira Sorvino's in it, and Mira Sorvino being one of the notorious Harvey victims who has come out.
Damn near drove her out of the business. Almost.
See, almost. So that's why I wanted to at least make a mention of this. Carrie Elwes is in this as well, but she's kind of had her career punched down a little bit. And it's worth it that we give Mira Sorvino some props and rediscover her, because she is still an amazing actress and really should be doing much bigger films and better work. She really should be back on everybody's radar. She's just absolutely wonderful. The idea here is it's sort of it's one of those it's like this would have been an Adrian Lyne movie 25 years ago, right? That's what it would have been. The wages of infidelity and all kind of wrapped up into a sort of a contained thrillery character piece. Fatal Attraction here. What was the other one with Richard Gere?
He did
Richard Gere and Demi Moore and Robert Redford.
Indecent
Proposal. There you go.
Indecent Proposal. He did a remake of Lolita too, Adrian. Which was actually Dominic Swain was good in that movie. The movie
went nowhere,
but
Yes. Well, anyway. Anyway, it's called Indiscretion. There are better movies out there, but give it a shot just because Mira Sorvino is so good and really deserves your time and support.
Yeah, it's funny how some of these folks sort of come and go. Amityville, The Awakening. I love how they put on this from the producers of Split, M. Night's movie, of course. Get Out, George's movie, which we are talking about. Thank you. And The Purge, it's like they're trying to sell you everything but this movie. So buy all of that. But anyway, this is actually okay. It's another one in the many Amityville movies. A family moves into the original Amityville house.
So sick of that house. Tear it down.
Just tear that house down.
Knock that thing down.
But it's crazy. And the idea here is that they have a son who's in a coma, and she's hoping that the dark powers of the house will be able to. Bella Thorne is in it. I don't know, Jennifer Jason Leigh. What the heck? You make a horror movie. Every now and again, you get paid. It's okay. Blu-ray and DVD. This doesn't have a whole lot on it either. Special feature: the making of Amityville: The Awakening. That's it.
If you've ever seen a movie about people on vacation, you would know that vacations are not something that you should have. Yeah. You just shouldn't even ever leave your house. Never go on vacation, because unless it's a Chevy Chase vacation. But if you do, you are likely to be raped by hillbillies or Richard Berryman in the Hills with Eyes will come after you and and cannibalize you. Things just don't go well on vacation. So a movie about people on vacation called Killing Ground. I don't think I need to tell you what this is all about. Yeah. These people, they go for a weekend camping trip, and is that a campsite? It looks like someone used to be here, but no one is here anymore. I wonder what's going on. You know what, people? Here's what's going on. Get the hell back in your car and go. Yes. Leave now. Yes. Stop. Just don't. Don't ask any more questions. Just leave.
Stay the hell in the suburbs.
But they don't. They don't. And then they keep looking around, and look. There's a little kid. Something bad has happened to this kid. Abandoned campground and a kid with no parents. I think we should stay and investigate, because we are not police and we do not have any weapons, and this cannot possibly go south. Honestly, I just want to beat these people with a hammer. That's pretty much what happens, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, it's exactly what you would expect. It's on Blu-ray and DVD. From IFC and Scream Factory. It's called Killing Ground. It is effective, but gosh, these people are stupid.
Wow. What are you going to do? The Glass Castle, the Brie Larson, Woody Harrelson, Naomi Watt, great cast.
Yeah.
Movie didn't really quite work that well. This is from the director of Short Term 12.
Right.
Which was the movie that sort of launched
Brie Larson.
Which is a very good movie.
Very good movie. You have the troubled kids. And
in school, and these teachers trying to take care of it. Almost verite, but not quite. In any case, despite the fact that this is fairly star-laden, it's really only an okay movie from the producers of The Shack and The Blind Side and a few of those movies. A young girl with a sort of a wacky family, nonconformist family, who sort of just roaming around the country. Her mother's like this artist, her father's this alcoholic. And, all of this sort of nomad existence inspires her imagination. But she hates living in freaking poverty with her loser parents, and that's the sort of thing that's going on in the movie. Anyway, again, this is one that I think we were meant to be talking about around this time of the year. It's interesting to note these as we reflect back on them, and that's the reason why this thing has this all-star cast in it. Nevertheless, special features, deleted scenes, a memoir, a conversation with Jeanette Walls, who is the woman whom the movie is about, who wrote the memoir that the movie is about, because it's about her life and actually what happened to her in her life, which is sort of interesting. But, nevertheless, just didn't quite have the stick-to-itiveness to hang in there for me. Nevertheless, The Glass Castle.
And I'm going to blow out with one final new movie here, which is an animated film, and then I'm going to hit a few more anime just to transition from there. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? Tim just handed me some TV animation. So let me hit the animation things here and knock out a little bit of this. Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. Stay away. Not funny. The Nut Job 1 wasn't funny. And this
Will Arnett, right?
Yeah.
Squirrely.
Katherine Heigl. Jackie Chan does a voice. Maya Rudolph does a voice. The voices are cute. I get it. The celebrity casting, and you recognize the voices. But it's not creative. It's the same shtick, It's the animals don't want to leave the park, and there's a whole.
It's all just too adult.
They're gonna replace the park with an amusement park, and the animals have to fight to sort of preserve what's theirs, and it becomes very kind of the Alamo. It's nothing special. The animation backstory stuff is interesting. There's progression reels, concept art, stuff on how they put it together. That's more interesting than the movie, to be honest. Then we also have Batman vs. Two-Face, DC animated movie, which is surprisingly really, really good. I'm always amazed at how well the DC animated stuff is written, and yet the movies are not quite so well written. They just got written. They got to hire these people to do the movies. They really do. So this is here's what's wonderful about this. Is that this is animated, but this is old school Batman. This is they went and got Adam West, the late Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar to reprise their characters from the original television show. So their voices are here, and it just feels solid. It is amazing. And as if that's not enough, you know, they went and got to do the voice of Two-Face.
Right.
The Shat, baby. So William Shatner is the voice of Two-Face, and is so much fun. It's really a lot of fun. So if you're an old school Batman fan, if you want pot-bellied Adam West and holy Burt Ward and Julie Newmar and that just sexy voice that just never quits, and then Bill Shatner, for crying out loud. Come on, the Shat. This is great. This is classic Batman versus Two-Face, Blu-ray, DVD, and digital combo. You are going to want to just watch this over and over. It's a lot of fun. And then here's what we got. A few more anime. These are things that are pretty well established on anime. New volumes of all of them. I'll go through them very, very quickly. Dragon Ball Super Part 2, episodes 14 through 26. The whole Dragon Ball thing I find interesting only because the hair is amazing. I don't know what they do with their hair. I don't know what gel they use, but it's pretty awesome. It just makes it always stand on end. The mythology here I'm really out of touch with. I have not kept up with the Dragon Ball stuff, but it's, you know, more of the same. Season 3, Part 1 of D.Gray-man, which is a show. This is only on DVD, not on Blu-ray. D.Gray-man is basically about takes exorcism and turns it into being a superhero. Guy's an exorcist, but that makes him a superhero, and he fights monsters. So it's basically superhero stuff, you know, in kind of a supernatural guise. This also has a pretty complicated mythology, but it's easier to access. Even though this is Season 3, I kind of got up to speed fairly quickly. Ranma. This is Ranma half. 11 episodes on a Blu-ray set only. 14 original episodes restored plus OVA, which is you know, the stuff that was never aired on television. And this is you know, classic anime, and it is not necessarily my speed. It's very, I don't know, the animation's a little bit dated, but it has a following, so I'm not going to not recommend it to people that love it. Bleach, Set 3, Shonen Jump Bleach. This is episodes 56 to 83. Honestly, if you are not already caught up on, you know, Soul Reapers and the whole world of Bleach, I can't help you. But if you are caught up on it, hell of a great bunch of animation. Bleach is a really, really nicely put together show. Hunter x Hunter Volume 3. This is a 4-disc set, which is I keep kind of fighting with myself over whether I like this. Like it's similar animation to Dragon Ball, but it's yet better, and it's not. It doesn't feel as kind of two-dimensional. It's a little more solid, a little richer. It's still kind of dated in terms of the writing and the storytelling, but you know, it's got a cool look. So I'm not going to not recommend that either. And then lastly, good old reliable Pokemon. This is Pokemon the series XYZ, 24 episodes from the first installment of this, only on DVD, not on Blu-ray. And you don't really need to understand the Pokemon world to sort of enjoy this. It's silly and it's juvenile and it's made for kids. And I'm not going to show it to my daughter just yet, but I'm sure she'll love it at a certain point and drive me crazy. Anyway, much as I want to hate Pokemon, Pokemon the series XYZ really does have kind of a sweet charm to it. So there it is.
Yes. What do you want to go from here?
Shall we hit some TV?
I got some old school TV. Well, it's not all old school TV. Some of it's old school TV, but not all of it.
Yeah.
Sitting here, including DC Follies, the complete series, the Fred Willard series that most people are from the middle 80s.
Yeah.
So this is the complete series, which is 44 episodes, believe it or not.
Wow.
I remember this from the middle 80s.
I thought that thing was canceled instantly.
I think I watched 3, and I didn't think there were any more than that. Who knew that there were 44 of these? Anyway, it is kind of a neat series. As sort of a throwback to that period in the middle 80s. It's a lot of politics going on. The middle 80s was sort of like a Republican, what we comically now call right-wing politics. Now we realize that wasn't even close to right-wing politics.
It's all through the looking glass.
It's all a matter of perspective. Anyway, there are Muppets and puppets and all kinds of stuff that are in this series with Fred Willard, who, if I'm not mistaken, was Fred not? Didn't Fred have?
Yeah, he had a moment.
He had a moment.
Yeah, he had a moment with a little indiscretion a few years back. Yeah, he did.
Anyway,
Yeah, well,
sorry about that, Fred. I was hoping I was wrong. Anyway, the complete series, DC Follies.
Yeah,
kind of neat.
Fred's indiscretion, as I recall, was fairly innocent. It wasn't, but maybe
along the line of that sort of Paul Rubin sort of deal.
Yeah.
He had a moment too, but it was whatever. It's funny how quaint all of that seems now.
Yeah, right.
George Michael, his thing with in the bathroom in Beverly Hills 25 years ago.
Good grief.
All quite incredibly quaint.
Complete first season of The Crown is out on Blu-ray, and this thing won the Golden Globe for Best TV Drama Series, very deservedly. This is some of the best television there has ever been. This is an amazing, amazing show. Peter Morgan, who is one of the best screenwriters around, you can read, I listed him on my piece on CineGods.com, created the show. It's just fantastic.
I'm a big Matt Smith fan.
Stephen Daldry directs this just brilliantly, who, of course, did things like, The Hours and Billy Elliot, and this is all the true story of Queen Elizabeth, and her how she became queen and all that stuff. It's the youth and the life of Queen Elizabeth, and Prince Philip, and Churchill is in this, played beautifully by John Lithgow, and it's just such a good show, and it's an expensive show, but it's wonderful.
About that show, about the series, is that they are playing the love story between the prince and the queen.
Yeah.
It's a love story.
It is.
They were actually in love.
Yeah.
So many of those
They were actually also cousins.
They were cousins.
And they are cousins.
They still are. Thus why that family has that chin. But that notwithstanding, I like that that it's not the story that usually comes out of that.
True.
It's an actual love story, and it's rather lovely, and I like it a lot. Believe it or not, folks, the Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, et al., is creeping up on 20 years old.
Gee whiz, it's been around that time?
It's creeping up. Premiered in 1998. What I have here is the season 15, 20 episodes on a 3-disc set. But yeah, the Family Guy is creeping up on 20 years old.
It's mad.
It's really interesting that some of the longest running television programming right now is animation. We know The Simpsons, of course. And frankly, if you go way, way back, the Flintstones ran for like 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, it did.
We got into the Martian Flintstones, all that kind of stuff. Kazoo and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting to me, and all that stuff that spun off from the Tracy Ullman show in the middle '80s.
I am such a nerd. Every once in a while I will look at somebody and I go, "Yes, dumb." They have no idea what I'm referencing. I'm such an old weirdo.
Obviously.
Anyway,
all this stuff. But yeah, Family Guy creeping up on this is. This is season 15. Look, what can I say? Either you're a Family Guy fan or you're not. I've always been a sort of hit and miss Family Guy guy. I like it when I like it.
And that's why it's great to have your perspective, because Mark loved that damn show. I just don't get it. I've never the kid with the football head, Stewie, and he's a grown up, but I don't whatever.
The talking dog
doesn't. Although I've seen snippets of it that people have sent me, and I'm like, all right, that's funny, but I don't know if I can handle it.
Kind of works the same way for me too. It's like that was funny.
Yeah,
but I don't want to sit here for a half an hour.
No.
I'm out of here now.
Interesting show, series 1. This is from Acorn, part of Acorn TV. The Good Karma Hospital, which, if that sounds like the best exotic marigold hotel in a hospital, it's kind of exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. The Good Karma the Good Karma Hospital, series 1. Is kind of like basically a medical show that's crossed with the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, and it's got a really, really good cast. Amanda Redman and Amrita Acharya do an amazing job on this. They are just really, really wonderful. In the whole idea is that you're running a hospital in India, and it just it's a very, very British show. It's very rooted in the colonial relationship between England and the British, and India and the Indians. But I find it really, really a very smart show, really nicely written, good performances, and an unusual backdrop. It just isn't the kind of thing you normally see from a British show anymore. So highly recommended. Amanda Redman especially really, really good. James Floyd and Neil Morrissey also co-star. The Good Karma Hospital, first series.
Oh, man. Believe it or not, Flipper, the original series.
Yep.
only ran between 1964 and 1967.
Isn't that crazy?
In my mind, this show ran for 10 or 15 years.
Because we watched it on reruns forever.
For 10 or 15 years. But it was only between 1964 and 1957. So this is season 3 of Flipper. And look, I got it. Brian Kelly, Luke Lapland, Tommy Nord. Those were actors. Those are the actors' names who played Porter Ricks and Sandy Ricks and Bud Ricks in the show. And then, of course, you had the Dolphin Flipper in the show. And I grew up wanting to live in Florida, in the Keys, wanting to live on a dock, wanting to have a dolphin because of this show. I'm not even sure I knew really what a dolphin was, mammal fish.
And I kept wishing that Gentle Ben and Flipper would have it out. That Gentle Ben would just jump in the water and just eat Flipper, so I could only have one show with an animal.
Have to watch the time. It was a neat show. I really liked it a lot. There was I think they made a feature, or maybe they reprised a series in the middle '90s or something like that. The Flipper series. In any case, this is pretty neat. The entire complete season 3. All of which is in color. The entire run of the show was not in color. They sort of switched over the color in the middle of the second season, so this part is in color. Blu-ray.
Got a couple from MHz Networks, MHZChoice.com. One is yet another installment of Detective Montalbano. This is episodes 29 and 30. We've talked about this in the past. This is based on some very best-selling Italian mysteries, and it's a really good show. It's tough. It's gritty. It's a great character. It's just really, really a well put together Italian show. And then we also have Blue Eyes, which is a Swedish show that it's also this is a pretty intense kind of a criminal procedural from Sweden who does some really intense stuff. And it's the political backdrop of this show that really makes it so kind of gripping. And you would think, well, Sweden, what goes on in Sweden? People just what do they drink schnapps and celebrate Midwinter's Eve? It's like, why would they cry? No, remember the girl with the dragon tattoo. That stuff comes from Sweden.
Yeah,
they got some pretty intense, dark stuff going on there, at least in their psyche. And this is this goes to some pretty dark places, really, really dark places. So don't discount Blue Eyes, which is a really, really sharp show from Sweden. And stars Louise Peterhoff and Sven Nordin, and they are all very, very good.
I'm so glad you gave me this one, Wade. Series 10, Part 1 of Doctor Who.
You're a Who man.
I'm ridiculous with the Doctor Who stuff. I'm a Tom Baker guy, generally speaking. Thus the scarves. People who ever see me with those scarves. Tom did that to me years ago. But this is the big. I enjoyed this last season, of course. In the upcoming season of Doctor Who, which I think premieres next month, we're going to have for the first time a female Doctor Who.
Which was inevitable.
Inevitable
at a certain point.
And certainly rational.
Hasn't it been hinted at? I mean, hasn't Doctor Who said at varying points in the show that
he has been a woman before?
Yeah.
Tom Baker used to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was watching him. I was watching that in the early 80s, but those shows were from the middle 70s.
Yeah.
And he would talk about his female self.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't quite get to the hell he was talking about until it all sort of sunk in. And nevertheless, it took it another 30 years before it actually happened. I like this season, though, very much. The pilot is okay. The great episodes from this season is a part of this Part 1 disc, and it includes Smile and Knock Knock and Oxygen and Extremis. Those episodes are just absolutely outstanding. This also features some inside looks at the show. I also liked about the show Pearl Mackie, who played the Doctor's companion in this series. I like that Pearl's character in the show is gay. Her character is gay in the show. We know that her character is gay in the show. But none of the shows are ever really about her character being gay. If she's spitting by a gal and all that kind of stuff. It shows me that these filmmakers, these producers of this series, are very slowly, but very assuredly moving forward through all of the little things that have been the spots where we get stuck on all of these issues. They're just easing their way through them one by one by one until they're going to make them all go away. The next thing, of course, is they're going to have to have themselves a black doctor.
At a certain point, yeah, that's inevitable.
Now, this is what I would love for that to be. I would love, I would love it. I would love for the Doctor to be an American actor playing the Doctor with an English accent. That would be. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, we
won't go into.
We have an ongoing discussion about all of the American parts, white, black, and everything else that we just like. Wow, what a great actor! And then we see an interview with them, and they're always English.
They're always English.
I'm beginning to think that everyone who stars on an American television show as an American is English because we don't have actors anymore.
It's a strange thing. And look, I love all these people. I'm not Dan Stevens. They're all wonderful. Not poking my English actors.
Those three kids from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, But they're all British, and it would be interesting to see that flip. Anyway, Doctor Who, fantastic. Yeah. Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who.
Got some PBS stuff here as well. Some really interesting British television, primarily from PBS. The Durrells in Corfu second season is still very good. The first season was very good. Second season's very good. This is based on a series of novels about a family that relocates to a Greek island. And it's a little bit precious, but it's still the performances are strong enough that you really do kind of enjoy the adventures along the way, and it has a certain pastoral charm to it.
It's set in the middle 30s or something like that.
Yeah,
which is the part of the charm, I think, and the way it looks and the clothes and the sensibilities. I really like it a lot.
Anything British period on television does that, and that is part of the charm. So I'm going to keep recommending the Durrells in Corfu. Wonderful, anything on a Greek island for that matter. That's on Blu-ray, and then on DVD, also from PBS, is L.M. Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables: The Good Stars. This is a Canadian production. Martin Sheen shows up here. He seems to show up in everything these days. Honestly, Anne of Green Gables has been done so many times, so much better. It's not offensive. It's not terrible. It's
one of those why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Because they had some money and a cute actress to star in it. The Collection, part of Masterpiece. Boy, this is really, really, really good stuff.
Richard Coyle is just.
Isn't he great?
Man, he's just one of those, English actors, but just really, really good.
Want so much more of him. This takes place in 1947 in Paris. And it uses the fashion industry as a backdrop for, it's like Dynasty and Dallas level intrigue. It's really, really wonderful. And it's essentially what it is. It's like a Dallas Dynasty or even Empire.
Yeah.
More recent example of one of those shows, set amid the fashion world of 1947 in Paris. And it is really, really great. Terrific cast. Richard Coyle.
Mamie Gummer,
Richard Coyle is just so great, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope we see a lot more of this. I think there's a lot left to explore, and that is from the Masterpiece line at PBS, The Collection. I love the tagline too. It's not what they're wearing; it's what they're covering up.
Am I correct? Mamie, she's Meryl Streep's daughter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Outcast. The series I have here. This is the complete season 1. 4 discs, includes all 10 season episodes. This is a really good series too. I have to tell you, it's from the creator of the Walking Dead. That guy Robert Kirkman, I think is his name, who created the Walking Dead. And it's just an outstanding series. It has to do with a reverend, has to do with exorcisms. So it's just really, really good. Very reminiscent of we were talking about Amityville a little while ago. So
yep.
Amityville meets The Exorcist sort of thing.
Fantastic.
Sort of ongoing series with this young priest has to deal with all this stuff. I don't usually like that kind of stuff. But I do hear. Not that much on this disc, though. Just your 4 discs with your episodes. Special features includes a few deleted scenes on disc 1 and disc 2.
All right, and I got a little pile of classics here that I'm going to turn through real quickly so that we can try to get a mention of some foreign films in. A couple of really interesting criterions. The first one is from 1985, a movie I had never heard of. I wasn't living in the United States in 1985, so it's no surprise that I've never heard of it. But, I should have heard of it because it's really, really interesting. It's called Desert Hearts, directed by Donna Dietsch.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yes, I saw that back in 1985.
This is a really, really cool little indie period film set in 1959.
A young Helen Shaver is in that movie.
Yes.
Who was
Patricia Charbonneau.
Yeah.
This is a really cool movie. Donna Dietsch, her first film. And it's a really, this was like one of the early indie films of the time. And it kind of feels to me like it prefigures not only Thelma and Louise in many respects, but also Todd Haynes' Carol from a few years ago.
Yes,
which it has many of the same sort of, and I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Haynes had seen this and if this was some kind of an influence on it. But anyway, Helen Shaver is terrific. Patricia Charbonneau is fantastic.
If you go to Patricia Charbonneau's IMDb, the poster for Desert Hearts is what she uses as her photograph.
Yeah. And what's interesting is this was the young cinematographer doing this in 1985 was Robert Elswit.
Oh, really?
Yes. Who, of course, has gone on to being, multi-Oscar nominated, amazing cinematographer for.
He has a couple of films out there right about now. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it's a really neat movie.
It's terrific.
One of those sort of like little faux lesbian. Sort of things.
But it's really it's a sharp little movie, Desert Hearts, and a lot of interesting extras here.
Robert shot There Will Be Blood.
Yep.
If you want to talk about this extraordinary,
there's a documentary here from 1994, all about the author of the original 1964 novel that the movie is based on. Conversation between Jane Lynch and the director. New interviews with the stars. Audio commentary that Donna Dietsch did in 2007 is on here as well. So I mean, this is it's a sharp little movie. And then also. From the Criterion Collection is a new beautiful Blu-ray of The Philadelphia Story, the George Cukor classic from 1940, which put together Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and James Stewart in one of the all-time most entertaining team-ups in movie history. It is just a delight to watch this movie. It is so smart.
So fast, so funny.
Oh, the dialogue just flies, and it's a really, really great, and nobody really outshines anyone else.
Yeah,
they all make each other better. It's just perfect. It's really one of the most perfect.
They were all already movie stars by then, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, I know Cary Grant.
Oh yeah, 1940. Yeah, they were all really already top of their game. So this is just this is terrific. And lots of extras here as well, including a Dick Cavett show from 1973 featuring Katharine Hepburn.
I talk about Dick Cavett all the time.
We were talking about that earlier. And there's even a Lux Radio Theater adaptation from 1943 that had an introduction by Cecil B. DeMille, which is really weird. But anyway, beautifully restored from 4K Elements. And you even get a little restoration introduction here, kind of a little featurette that shows how they did the restoration. This is just a great movie. One of the greatest all-time films. So Criterion, kudos once again. And then also out, we have F.W. Murnau's The Last Laugh on Blu-ray from Kino with a new musical score. This is a super, super cool movie from 1924.
Jennings,
it's just this is one of the last great German silents before everything kind of went to hell over there. But it's Emil Jannings is just great. Emil Jannings won like the first two Academy Awards for Best Actor or something like that.
Sunset and something else. Right?
Yeah, he's just so fantastic, and he's so different here. Such a different performance. But yeah, the idea here is it's all. This is a very class conscious film, especially for Weimar cinema, with Jannings as a doorman who is fired, and what that does to his life. It's quite extraordinary.
Status in society.
Oh, it's great. The Last Laugh is it's called, and it's a beautiful transfer. It comes from the original from the Murnau people in Germany. And then we've also got Volume 2 of the Paul Naschy collection. That's just a lot of really great schlock. If you aren't familiar with Paul Naschy's real name was Jacinto Molina Alvarez. He was basically a Spanish schlockmeister, and his performances are he basically did what all the horror guys did in the 1930s here. He just played a lot of monsters, and it's all really great. Hunchback of the Morgue, Exorcism, Werewolf and the Yeti, Dragonfly for Each Corpse, The Devil's Possessed. If you like this kind of
reconceived Universal monsters to one extent or another,
it's like Universal and Hammer done Spanish style. And then real quickly, 3 from the Warner Archive collection, all of them DVD-Rs, Manufacture on Demand, MOD. They are all perfectly fine. These are not brilliant films. They are all basically pre-code. Um, uh, they're these are early talkies, pre-code movies that have some interest for people that like pre-code movies, that like to see some of what was available before the production code started stomping all over everybody. So it's a wonderful trio. Stage Mother, Wide Open, and She Had to Say Yes. I would say the best of the three is She Had to Say Yes, because that title wouldn't even have been allowed once the code took place. She Had to Say Yes, really kind of a risque title. And a very young Loretta Young does a very, very good job in it. 4 co-directors, George Amy and a young Busby Berkeley.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, very interesting. Were we gonna try to knock off one or two of the?
Yeah, let's do some of the foreign. Let's try to get through a few foreigns, and
we'll Funeral Parade. Funeral Parade of Roses. I'll start with that. Toshio Matsumoto. Basically, this is Oedipus Rex, is what it is, with transvestite Japanese girls, or men or girls, or whatever it is we're saying. That's effectively what it is. 1969 film, a fantastic film. Avant-garde shorts here. Special features include a 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative. It's a beautifully, beautifully restored film. This is an absolutely beautiful film. Incredibly apropos and, frankly, quite avant-garde for its time. Fairly avant-garde right now, to the extent of it. It's transvestites in Japan in the late 60s. One of them kills his mother.
Oh, wow. We've got some good old French stuff here. Another Criterion, Jean-Pierre Melville's Le Samouraï, with Alain Delon, which is one of the all-time great gangster movies. Alain Delon as a hitman, fantastic. Not really about samurai. The idea is that the French hitman is like a samurai. That the code of the
Ronin samurai.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really great stuff. This is from 1967, right when the French New Wave was really hitting their stride, and Melville kept making his kind of movies, and the French New Wave people loved him for it. They didn't need him to be anything like them. You even get John Woo weighing in here on the extras about what an influence Melville was on him. Archival interviews with Alain Delon and Nathalie Delon, and it's just really wonderful stuff. Plus,
Melville influenced a lot of those. He's a little bit older. He was a little bit older than the New Wave guys.
Yeah.
And thus, because when we think about the New Wave guys, we think about them being influenced by all those American filmmakers, Ford and all these kind of people.
Melville too.
But Melville and a few of the older sort of French directors had a great influence on them.
And speaking of them, we have a couple of Godard films as well, which come from Kino, La Chinoise and Le Gai Savoir. Both of them have Jean-Pierre Léaud, who's most French films from the era had Jean-Pierre Léaud in them. But and Juliette Berthaud. I have to be honest, I'm not fond of either of these. I'm not really a huge Godard fan to begin with, but I will say this: visually, both of these are spectacular, and the transfers are really, really superb. These were made in 1967 for La Chinoise, 69 for Le Gai Savoir. If you're a Godard fan, these are essential to have. If you're not a Godard fan, you're not really going to want to see them, and it pretty much goes like that. A lot of bonus features here, including an audio commentary by Adrian Martin on the Gai Savoir, and some really other interesting interviews as well on La Chinoise. So for Godard fans, that's a nice twofer.
Hermia and Helen, Argentine film. It's a beautiful film from Kino Lorber here. This is a film from director Matias Pinheiro, who directed a film called The Princess of France. This is about a young woman who travels to New York to do an adaptation of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream.
Sweet.
And it involves these sort of mysterious postcards that start and this woman she meets, and it's just so beautiful, this movie. And it's beautifully shot too. I can't recommend it highly enough. I had frankly forgotten about it until I just picked it up a second ago. Right. I saw this movie about a year ago, and I had completely forgotten about it until I picked it up a moment ago. Anyway, bonus features: audio commentary with the writer-director Matias Pinheiro and the producer Graham Swan, a booklet with an essay uh, by actor and director Dan Sallet. It's in a few short films that Pinheiro made as well. And anyway, yeah, wow, I completely. It's weird how you can completely forget about a film, whole and complete, and then it smacks you in the face.
Yeah.
And I remember how much I love this movie. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to knock off the last four here, and then we're going to call the show a quit until next week. Federico Fellini's The Voice of the Moon. His final film, starring Roberto Benigni, is out in a DVD and Blu-ray edition from Arrow Academy, and it's really a sweet kind of it's a wonderful film to go out on. He never intended it to be his last film, but it wound up being his last film.
1990.
It's adapted from a novel, and it's basically the kind of it's a little bit like La Strada. It's a similar kind of a romance as La Strada, maybe a little bit more in verse, but set against more of his later films, kind of a fantastical backdrop. It has a little bit more of an Amarcord feel to it. But anyway, Roberto Benigni is a guy who just got out of the asylum, and he's desperately in love with this woman played by Nadia Ottaviani. And it is essentially about that courtship, about that
with
that
a band
courting.
of these sort of goofy people.
With the usual kind of carnival-like accompaniment. It's a really, really sweet film. It's a lovely film. And then we also have A Woman's Life by Stéphane Brisé, who I had the great privilege of moderating an event with at the recent Colcoa. This is based on Une Vie, A Life by Guy de Maupassant, and it's a really fascinating adaptation because it's not, if you know Stéphane Brisé's work, I mean, his movies are usually very contemporary, very kind of ultra realistic, not really visually very flashy, and he brings those same sensibilities to a period adaptation of Guy de Maupassant. And it feels very stark and different from any period film I've ever seen before. It's very, very almost upsetting, which suits the story. This is right in there with all of those other 19th century movies and stories like Madame Bovary, people whose lives just go completely off the rails because they make the wrong choices. So
yeah, in society,
all of those don't run afoul of society. So really quite a powerful film. Highly recommended. That's from Kino Lorber on Blu-ray. And then the last two, Andrzej Wajda's final film, Afterimage, which was Poland's official submission for the 89th Academy Awards, did not get nominated. But this is also a really powerful movie about Władysław Straczynski, who was a famed Polish painter who was essentially ostracized by the entire community because he opposed Stalin. And his artwork was considered almost pornographic.
He wasn't into social realism.
No, he was kind of an avant-garde.
Paint all that stuff of big giant Russians with hammers and sickles.
And he wound up having to basically do murals for advertising companies and things. He was almost in poverty at the end. And the amazing thing about this is that he was missing one arm and one leg.
Yeah.
And an incredible man, an incredible testament to the human spirit, and a wonderful, wonderful tribute to him. This includes a 95-minute documentary, Wajda by Wajda, where he just walks us through his approach to filmmaking. One of the great all-time directors ever. That's on Blu-ray, Afterimage. Highly, highly recommended. And then the last one, 1 Week and a Day, an Israeli film from Oscilloscope by Asaf Polanski. Which is all about the mourning period after someone has passed, and a husband and wife who how they are coping in very different ways after the death of their son. And it's a small film. It's not a really consequential film, but it's
quiet.
It's very quiet. It's very interesting. Has a commentary by Polanski, which fills in a lot of the blanks that the film might not. But and then also an interview with him. It's a good film. It's a really good film, and especially in terms of dealing with the issue of grief. Even if you're not familiar with this particular practice in Jewish custom, just the subject of grief is well dealt with in the film. So that's it.
All right, man.
Tim, we are done this week. That was a whirlwind. Next week, Email us, gods@digigods.com. We didn't get to our Vox box this week. It was a whirlwind, so we're going to hold that Vox box for 2 weeks, and we'll bring that back the week. Well, it'll be December. It'll still be relevant. So we'll hit that Vox box when we come back after our voting. Next week it'll be our holiday show. Gods@digigods.com. Send us your emails, your questions, your Vox boxes. Visit us at cinegods.com. Visit the site and go to the Facebook page.
Let's see, what are you writing? I'm gonna be posting a piece on Mudbound.
Okay.
And I think I might write a piece for Roman J. Israel. Two top-notch movies creeping up on us.
Terrific. Yeah. And we've got some good reviews up there. I just did Orient Express.
Yes. You talked about it today on the show, too.
I did. So, and I got a few other things I'll see this week. Once the screeners start pouring in, we'll divvy them up, and we'll get a lot of reviews up there. So, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.